Hi, it's Wade McMaster here. In today's video, I'm going to be reviewing the design of the Minimalists website. If you haven't heard of the Minimalists, they basically it's a group talking about minimalism, which is obviously the life of living with less, or a focused life, focusing on the things you absolutely want and need, and trying to remove the clutter and noise out of your life. Really positive message, and something that has been a really positive force for me personally too. Wouldn't consider myself to be a true minimalist, but whenever I feel like things are getting on top of me, I do try to declutter a lot of things in my life and simplify by really focusing on what's important. So something I've personally gained from this site and from the message. But we're going to look at the design today of this site. Now, recently I did a design on the Zen Habits site, which I thought was awesome because it was kind of looks similar at first glance, but there's a lot of differences. With the Zen Habits site, I liked the way you landed. The information was straight away available. You'd start reading and that's it. So I'm going to start. Now, I'm not meaning to sort of tear anything down here, but I've noticed with this website, one thing I really dislike is the amount of sort of stuff. On the homepage, this is actually really good. You land, you see the logo, we've got the navigation, so you know exactly where to go. You want to download the free ebook. It's like, oh, this is cool, and you click on that, obviously takes you to an opt-in. Straight away, you can see these guys, learn about who they are, where they've been featured, something that builds their credibility and their authority, and then obviously links off to their social media. For a homepage, that's actually really good because then it goes down to the content. And once again, for a homepage, having the content so easily, it's just a bit of a scroll. So like, boom, boom, here we are. Here's the content. It's actually really cool. It's nice and easy to find, and you don't have to go through too much. A lot of homepages will actually really stretch this out and make it really long, which isn't necessarily bad because it allows you to really make things visual. But these guys, everything lands in front of you when you first land. So that's really cool for a homepage. However, I do have a bit of an issue with this. If I go to, say, popular essays here, it scrolls down. So we've got our these essays here. So I'm going to click on this. Now, if I go to a blog post, this is basically looks like the homepage. It's a little confusing, to be honest. Now, obviously, most people are going to get it after a bit of a scroll, but this looks like homepage content. And to be honest, sometimes you're going to be wondering if you're actually on a different page. If I go to resources, is it on the same? Yep. So the actual website header in this instance is almost the full height of the browser, which is not great because you want people to see that their content is landing right in front of you. And sure, it's kind of down the bottom here, but it's if most people, now we're talking about, not talking about most people, I should say. You want to cater for the people who just glance. If they get a little confused, they might simply just leave because they're not sold on these guys yet. They've just landed, and as far as they're concerned, it's a random website, and they're going, oh, this is a bit confusing, and they just sort of bounce out. For example, you really want to have that content up because if someone lands on a blog post, they don't necessarily they sort of want to get their content first. This isn't bad for educating someone when they land, but I just feel like it's just a bit, personally I think it's a little bit too much having it on every page. If we go to books, same again. So that's an issue I do have with this site, is the fact that is on every page, and it's a bit too much, I believe. If I was doing this personally, now these guys have a very popular website, don't get me wrong, because what they talk about is really good, and the website is actually a good design. I wouldn't say it's a bad design, but that's just one thing I personally would consider, is doing something with this, getting the content up a bit higher, and maybe even having this as an inset block. So where you have, so let's say we go to a blog post again. Let's open this up. Start here. We got, once again, so we've got this image of these guys here. We scroll down again, start here, and we've got another image of them. So before we even read, we've had to scroll all the way down to here. I would actually find some way to even just inset this, like you need to have this one thing as a sidebar over here, or even just have it inset on the right hand side as you start reading. So have a picture of these guys, maybe just this first bit here, because you can probably just pop those logos there nice and faint underneath, and then you got a nice sort of very quick, at a glance you see the logos, you get this shorter description, and you can see who these guys are. So that way, as you start reading, you go, oh, this is who these guys are, and you can just keep going. But the content lands right in front of you that way. You haven't got, it's not being pushed down by so many things. So that's just one little thought on that. It's a bit too high up, a bit too full on. But one thing I will say is that I do love the black and white color scheme. Once again, Zen Habits, I think, pulled this off excellently. I think this really shows a sense of cleanliness. In the design space, we talk about white space. So the fact that it's just black on white is showing that it's even kind of symbolic of the message, because you want to remove clutter. You want to move the things from your life, from your house, whatever it is that don't bring any meaning to your life, and focus on the things that do. So because they're offering the information, what they're focusing on is saying, here's the information and here's who we are. We're not worried about trying to push a fancy design, all these fantastic things right up in front of you. We're trying to just get the information to you. So obviously you land, they want to introduce themselves and then give the content. So once again, like I said, this isn't necessarily a bad thing having this at the top, I guess, because it's a different approach. It's a kind of like an introduction before you read the content. So yeah, the design itself, the fact that it's very low color, is just, it's very clean, and it shows that there's only just the information that they're focusing on. But one thing I do like is that they do occasionally use, for one, an image to stand out, but they use bits of yellow throughout the site on occasion. So down here, we finally get to the bottom. A little bit of color in this photo draws you in a little bit because you're not used to seeing color, therefore it does stand out a bit. So yeah, free wallpaper, you can sign up. Obviously they subscribe you to their email list. So yeah, they're making that stand out. It's the same when you go to resources. Obviously we're here, all of a sudden we've got a bit of yellow. We're like, oh wait, this is actually something. There's a good side and a bad side to this. For one, the yellow stands out, so it stands out against the rest of the site, which is really cool in grabbing someone's attention. However, it doesn't look like the rest of the website. So it can have that effect where it stands out, but also have that effect where maybe someone thinks, oh, this is an ad, and they just scroll past. And then they see more, and then it's a little confusing. Now, I'm actually a web designer, so when I first landed on this page, I did actually find it a little bit confusing because it's kind of like just feature box after feature box. I felt like, oh, wait, when's the content start? And it took me a second to realize that that is the content. So just another thought on that. I would probably, once again, I'd be more inclined to, instead of having this like one big opt-in for every single one, I would actually have like have the image and just have them listed down the page in a simpler, smaller format. And then when you click the link, this pops up. So that's just me. Once again, these guys have been running the site. They're a more successful site than I do, so I can't really criticize them too much. But overall, there's always a positive and negative to everything. So now, I do. One thing I don't like too much in navigations is just too many items, because I feel like sometimes you can hover over these items and things just disappear too easily. That doesn't seem to be the case with this one, luckily, so it's actually not too bad. But it's just, there's a lot going on up here. I do honestly think this whole section here, the email newsletter, the social media, I would possibly even consider scrapping that and putting it somewhere at the end of a blog post or something where you're trying to, I don't know. I would test it though, and maybe they've tested it, maybe that's what works for them, but definitely testing things would be the way to go here. See, I love the way this page, this is what I mean by with the resources. I would have something like this where we go, oh, okay, we're down here, there's some information, a photo, okay, I want more, a link. You could even pop a button here saying download or subscribe to download, and then it pops up. This is much more natural than having a bunch of opt-in forms. So I would actually do that on the resource page because this is laid out really well. I do feel like this is a bit hard to spot. I maybe even would pop a little line, maybe something like this, right between there and there, just to show that this is information, this is something else, this is where to get it. But otherwise, yeah, it's actually done really well. But moving on, let's go to, so back to, say, a blog post. because this is where most people are going to land. They're going to land on a blog post if they're discovering these guys, unless they've watched the documentary on Netflix or something and they're checking them out. If you're doing a Google search and you land on something, this is where you're going to land. Obviously, once again, you get introduced to these guys. You scroll down and you read. So that's nice, quick and easy sort of thing to read. So that's pretty good. We've got a link to another one. So all in all, it's really easy to navigate and read because there's no clutter. If you look at this text here, it's just obviously the paragraphs are longer than what I would usually use, but they work perfectly for the format because there's nothing else on the page. It's designed like a book. You're basically reading a book here, and even I think the choice of font reflects that. I do prefer this cleaner font. However, this is growing on me the more I see it because I feel like I'm actually reading a book when I read it, which also brings another feeling of substance. Like what we're looking at is something a little bit more substantial than just a blog post. So as you see here, the way this is laid out, it's very much like a book. So I do like the way they've done that. And they're not using any fancy fonts. This is literally just, I believe it's Times New Roman, which every computer comes with. Just everything's black and white. It's just a really well done site. So overall, the clean nature, the white space, the way it creates that feeling of we're just focusing on delivering the information, substance. Although I do think, in regards to that message, I do think some of this top header here is a little bit against that. I think overall, it's a very good example of trying to be substantial with your delivery and treating things like, for example, like I said, they're landing. One thing, the positive side I see of this is whenever you land as a new visitor, you get to meet and find out who these guys are before you start reading. So you get an idea of where this is coming from. So that's pretty cool. I think some people are going to take it that way. Some people are going to get confused by it and think, am I on a different page? Everything looks the same. So it's going to confuse some people without a doubt, but other people are going to get it. But yeah, it's simple. We're not being bombarded with a lot of stuff. It's a nice, small, thin design, so you just got a nice focal point to focus on. So yeah, I like it. It's overall, it doesn't follow the formula, so to speak, but it works for them because what they're doing is a little bit unique in what they're delivering. So yeah, overall, a great design and one to learn from. So if there was something you could learn from this, it would definitely be try to create focus. Think when you're doing a design, think like a minimalist. Look at what you're doing and think, what here is just distracting the eye? What here is just taking away from the substance, and how can I remove it and focus on that substance? So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and of course, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want more of these web design reviews, please consider subscribing. And also, if you have a site you'd like me to review, please pop a comment below and we'll check it out and go from there. Thanks for watching, and I hope to talk to you again soon. See you later.